Curtains up.
Who's having the duck?
Duck's for me.
No, it's not.
No, it isn't. Who's it for?
Me.
I thought I was having the duck.
No, I'm having the duck.
And who's having the
Chicken for my wife, steak for me.
chicken for the lady?
Thank you so much.
And who's having the steak?
Me. Here we are. The scatty for the ladies. And Vapocelli for me. And for me. I mean, what about me? I thought, what did I order? I haven't the faintest idea. What did I order?
Who cares?
Who cares? I care.
Also buco.
Oh, so what?
Buco.
It's an old Italian dish. I knew also was Italian. I don't know shit about buco. I didn't know Axel was Italian. Yes, but on the other hand, what is the Italian for asshole? Stronzo.
Julie Lambert. Happy anniversary.
Cheers. 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 Cheers to you.
Cheers to me.
Brothers forever.
We will be.
But if we ever disagree,
Fuck you. Here's to me.
They believe in me.
Who do?
They do. What do you mean, who do? They do.
Oh, do they?
Yes, they believe in me. They reckon me. They invest in me. They believe in me.
Listen, Russell, I believe in you. Honestly, I do. I mean, I want you to be so rich you can buy me houses and panties, and then I'll know you. Then I'll know that you love me. And they have a right to believe in you.
Listen, she was just a secretary. That's all? Nothing more?
Like me?
What do you mean like you? She was nothing like you.
I was a secretary once.
She was a scrubber. A scrubber. They're all the same, these secretaries, these scrubbers. They're like politicians. They love power. They get a bit of it, they use it. They go home, they get on the phone, they call their girlfriends and have a good laugh. Listen to me. You won't find many like me. I fell for it, I admit it. She just twisted me around her little finger.
Oh, I thought she twisted you round your little finger.
You don't know what these girls are like.
Oh, I think I do.
You don't.
Oh, I do.
You do. What do you mean you do?
I've been behind a few filing cabinets.
What?
I've been behind a few filing cabinets. I know what it's like.
Oh, do you?
Yes, in my time when I was a plump young secretary, I know what the back of the filing cabinet looked like.
What's all this about filing cabinets?
Oh yes, listen. I would invest in you myself if I had any money. You know why? Because I believe in you.
I've always told him, always, but he doesn't listen. I tell him all the time, but he just doesn't listen.
You mean he just doesn't listen?
I tell him all the time.
Why don't you listen to your wife? She stands by you through thick and thin. You've got a loyal wife there. And don't you forget it.
You got a loyal wife where?
Here, at this table.
I got one under the table, take my tip.
Why don't you go and buy a new car and drive it into a brick wall?
She loves her. No. She loves new cars. With soft leather seats. There was a song. How'd it go? Ain't she neat? As she's walking up the street, she's got a lovely, bubbly pair of tits and a soft leather seat. That's a really, really beautiful song. I've always admired that song. You know what I think it is? It's an old traditional folk song. Yeah, well, it's got class. It's got tradition and class. You know, they don't grow on trees, you know. Too bloody rich! Hey, Matt, I think we need a new bottle. What? Waiter!
All right, tell me, do you think I have a nice character?
Yes, I think you do. Yes, I think you do. You do have a nice character. Well, to think about it, you don't have any character at all. I mean, as such, fun. I mean, that's the thing. As such.
As such?
Yes, the thing is you haven't got any character at all. Look at me. I don't have any character either. I'm just a reed in the wind. Just a reed in the wind.
You're a whore.
A whore in the wind.
With the wind blowing up your skirt.
Yes, that's right. And how do you know about such things? How do men know about such things? Wind blowing up a woman's skirt. After all, men don't wear skirts.
You're a prick.
Not quite.
You're a prick.
Well, good gracious, am I really?
Yes, that's what you really are, really.
Am I really?
Yes, that's what you are, really.
What's the other song you said, you know? You know, the one that you said has class. Oh. Wash me in the water where you wash your dirty dollar. That's it. You know that one?
Not in my repertoire, darling.
This is the most expensive restaurant in town, that's what they say. That's what they say. This is a piss-up dinner. You know how much money I made last year? This is a piss-up dinner. It is a piss-up dinner.
His mother always hated me. First time she saw me, she hated me. She never gave me one present in the whole of her life. Nothing. She wouldn't give me the drippings off her nose.
I know.
The drippings off her nose? Honestly.
All mothers-in-law are like that. They all love their sons. They all love their boys. They don't want their sons to be fucked by other girls, do they?
Absolutely. All mothers want their sons to be fucked by themselves.
By their mothers.
And all mothers
want to be fucked by their mothers. Or by themselves.
No, you've got it the wrong way round.
Now, how's that? All mothers want to be fucked by their sons.
Oh.
Right. My point is... Well, hell with your point. What, I got to tell you my point. How old do you have to be?
To be what?
To be fucked by your mother. Yeah! Any age, man. Any age. Honey, how'd you enjoy your dinner?
I wasn't impressed.
Oh, you weren't impressed?
No.
I bring her to the most fucking expensive restaurant in all of Europe, and you're not impressed. Don't forget, This is your anniversary. That's why we're here.
What anniversary?
It's your wedding anniversary.
All I know is this is the most expensive fucking restaurant in all of Europe. She's not impressed.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Richard. How have you been?
Very, very well, thank you. Been to a play?
No, the ballet.
Oh, the ballet. What was it?
That's a good fucking question.
It's unanswerable.
Good, was it?
Unbelievable.
What ballet?
None of them could reach the top notes, could they?
Good dinner?
Fantastic.
Top notch. Gold plated.
Delicious.
My wife wasn't impressed.
Oh, really?
I like the waiter,
Which one?
the one with the fur-lined jockstrap.
Takes it off for breakfast.
But that's much more than you do, darling.
Well, how nice to see you all.
She wasn't impressed with her food. It's true. She said so. She thought it was dry as dust. She said, what did you say, darling? She said she could cook better than that with one hand stuffed between her legs. She said, she's my sister. She said she could make a better sauce than the one on that plate if she pissed into it. Don't think she's joking. She is my sister. I've known her all my life. All my life. Since we were little innocent girls. All our lives. When we used to lie in the nursery when we were babies, and we could hear Mummy beating the shit out of Daddy. Oh, we saw the blood on the sheets the next day. My little sister and me. When Nanny was in the pantry, and the pantry maid was in the larder, and the parlor maid was in the laundry room, washing the blood out of the sheets. That's how my little sister and I were brought up. And she could make a better sauce than yours if she pissed into it.
Oh, well, it's lovely to be here, I'll say that.
Yeah, lovely to be here.
Yeah, lovely, lovely.
Really lovely.
Thank you.
Can I thank you? Can I thank you personally? I would like to thank you myself in my own way.
Well, thank you.
I'd like to thank you in a very personal way. Can I kiss you on the mouth? I'd like to kiss you on the mouth.
Oh, that's funny. I'd like to kiss him on the mouth too. Because I've been maligned, I've been terribly misrepresented. I never said I didn't like your sauce. I love your sauce.
Well, we can't both kiss him on the mouth at the same time.
You could tickle his ass with a feather.
Well, I'm so glad. I'm really glad. See you later, I hope.
Huh. Charming man.
You know, that's why this is the best and most expensive restaurant in all of Europe. Because he insists on the proper standards. He insists on maintaining the standards up to the highest fucking standards.
Uh-huh.
I knew him in the old days
What do you mean?
when he was a chef.
What's this? What? What? It's my wedding anniversary. Huh? No. Come.
Uh-huh.
Russell, I'm so proud of you.
Yes?
And I know these people. I know they're good people, aren't they? And they'll respect me, won't they? Won't they?
Very good people.
And when I meet them, and you introduce them to me, they won't want to have sex behind the filing cabinet, will they?
Good evening. Everything all right?
Good evening.
Good evening.
So, everything all right?
Wonderful.
Good, no complaints.
Absolutely no complaints whatsoever. Absolutely numero uno, all down the line.
What a lovely compliment.
Heartfelt.
Been to the theater?
The opera.
Oh, really? What was it?
Well, there was a lot going on. A lot of singing, a lot of things. As a matter of fact, they never stopped singing.
Listen, may I ask you something?
You can ask me absolutely anything you like.
What was your upbringing?
That's funny. Everybody asks me that. Everybody seems to find that an interesting subject. I don't know why. Isn't it funny? Everyone seems to want to express their curiosity about my upbringing. I have no idea why. What you really mean is, how did I arrive at the position I hold now, maîtresse d'hôtel? Isn't that right? Isn't that your question? Well, I was born in Bethnal Green. My mother was a chiropodist. I had no father.
Fantastic.
Are you going to try our bread and butter pudding?
Oh, in spades. Did I ever tell you about my mother's bread and butter pudding?
No, you never have. Do tell.
Are you sure you want to know, or are you being insincere?
Give me your hand, darling. See, now I have your hand. I'm holding your hand. Now, will you tell me about your mother's bread and butter pudding?
It was like drowning in a sea of richness.
Oh, how beautiful. You're a poet.
I wanted to be a poet once, but I got no encouragement from my dad. He thought I was an asshole.
That's not the truth. He thought you wanted to steal his wife.
His wife?
You know what they say.
What?
You know what they say.
Say, do you mind if I interject?
Uh,
Do you mind if I make an interjection?
We welcome it.
It's just that I heard you talking earlier this evening about T.S. Eliot, and I thought you might like to know that my grandfather knew T.S. Eliot quite well.
Oh, you heard that, did you?
Yes, I don't mean to say that he was a close friend, but he was a bit more than a nodding acquaintance. He knew them all. Ezra Pound, W.H. Auden, Louis MacNeice, W.H. Auden, Louis MacNeice, Dylan Thomas, and if you go back quite a ways, he was a drinking companion of D.H. Lawrence, Joseph Conrad, Ford Madox Ford. Ford Madox Ford, T.S. Eliot, Don Bradman, the Berry sisters, the Ink Spots. You know, there was a funny thing about my grandfather. He always had the palms of his hands burning, but his thoughts were elsewhere. He was planning, he told me once that he was in love with a woman who turned out to be my grandmother, but he lost her somewhere in a sandstorm in the desert. You know, my grandfather was everything men aspired to be in those days. He was tall, dark, and handsome. And he was full of goodwill. Why, he'd even give a cripple with no legs crawling on his belly down a country lane through the slush and the mud a helping hand. He'd lift him up, He'd point him in the right direction. He was like Jesus Christ in that respect. And he loved the company of his fellows. He was quite a man, my grandfather.
You've been working here long.
Years.
Do you plan on staying until it changes hands?
Are you suggesting I'm about to get the boot?
Oh, they wouldn't do that to a nice young man like you.
I'm afraid I would never recover if they did a thing like that. This place is like a womb to me. I would prefer to stay in the womb. I would greatly prefer that to being born.
I don't blame you. Listen, next time we're talking about T.S. Eliot, I'll drop you a card.
Well, you would make me a very happy man. Thank you, thank you.
How sweet of you.
You're incredibly gracious people. Gracious and graceful.
You won't believe this. You're not going to believe this. You know, I'm only telling you this because, you know, my close friends and my family. I know you respect me. I mean, deep down inside, I know you guys have a reverence for me. I know that you keep me in your confidence. I know deep down inside that you don't think I'm a pile of shit. I know that you wouldn't want to see me hung, drawn, and fucking quartered. You know, and I'm only telling this because I know you respect me. What I was going to tell you was, you're not going to believe this. I was in love once. And the girl I love loved me back. I know this. I know.
Wasn't that me, darling?
Who? Her? No, not her. I'm talking to this girl. You know, holding hands along the river, walking side by side.
Yes. Well, Lambert fell in love with me on the top of the bus. It was a short journey from Shepherd's Bush to Fulham Broadway, but it was enough. He was trembling all over, I remember. And when I came home, I sat down on your bed, didn't I?
I used to take this girl along walks, along the river. I was young. I wasn't much more than a little nipper.
That's funny. I never knew anything about that, and I think I know you quite well, don't I?
You knew me quite well? You knew nothing about who the fuck are you anyway?
I'm your big brother.
I'm talking about real fucking love, man. You know, holding hands alongside the river.
I saw him the day he was born. You know what he looked like? An alcoholic. Pissed as a newt. He could hardly stand.
He was trembling like a leaf. I'll never forget.
I was there when you came home. I remember what you said. You came into my room, you sat on my bed.
What did she say?
I mean, we were sisters, weren't we?
Well, what did she say?
I'll never forget what you said. You sat on my bed, didn't you? Do you remember? Do you remember what you said?
This girl was in love with me. I'm trying to tell you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Everything in order?
First class.
I'm so glad.
Can I say something?
But indeed.
You know, everyone in your restaurant is so happy. I mean, the men and the women. Everyone is so happy.
Well, we do like to feel that it's a happy restaurant.
It is a happy restaurant. For example, look at me. Look at me. I'm basically a totally disordered personality. Some would say I'm a psychopath. Am I right?
Yes.
But when I'm sitting in this restaurant, I find I don't have any psychopathic tendencies at all. I don't want to kill everyone in sight. I don't want to put a bomb under everyone's seat. I feel something quite different. I feel equilibrium and harmony. I love my fellow diners. How do you explain it?
It's the ambiance.
Yes, I think ambience is that intangible thing that cannot be defined.
Quite right.
It's intangible.
Absolutely.
That is absolutely right, but it does. I must admit, it exists. It's something that you find you're part of without knowing exactly what it is.
Yes, I had an old schoolmaster once who used to say, ambience surrounds you. He used to say that all the time. He lived in a little house in a nice little village, but he never invited us boys over for tea.
Yes, it's funny you should say that. I was brought up in a little village myself.
No, were you?
Isn't it odd? It's funny you should say that. I was in a little village in the country.
What? Right in the country.
Oh, absolutely. And my father once took us to a little pub house. I was only that high, too young to join him for his pint, of course, but I did look in. Black beams.
On the roof?
Well, hole in the ceiling up, in fact. Yes. Old men smoking pipes, no music, of course, cheese rolls, gherkins, happiness. I think this restaurant, which you so kindly patronized, was inspired by that pub in my childhood. I do hope you noticed the complimentary gherkins.
That was you. That was your idea?
I believe the concept of this restaurant rests in the public house of my childhood.
I find that incredibly moving.
I'd like to raise my glass.
Okay. What to?
To my wife. To our anniversary.
Oh, darling, you remember.
I'd like to raise my glass. I ask you to raise your glasses to my wife.
I'm so touched, honestly. I mean, I have to say that.
Where's your fucking glass and shut the fuck up?
But darling, that's naked aggression. He doesn't usually go in for naked aggression. He disguises it in honeyed words. What is it, sweetie? He's got a cold in the nose. That's what it is.
I want us to drink to our anniversary. We've been married for more bloody fucking years than I can remember. And it don't seem a day too long.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, cheers. You know, it's funny that our children aren't here. When we were young, we spent so much time with them, the little darlings, looking after them,
I know.
playing with them,
Feeding them.
being their mothers.
They always loved me more than they loved him.
Oh, me too. They loved me to distraction.
Yeah.
I was their mother.
Yes, I was too. I was my children's mother.
They have no memory. Who? Children. They have no memory. They remember nothing. They don't remember who their father was or who their mother was. It's all hole in the wall to them. They don't even remember their own life.
Everything all right?
Perfect.
Been to the theater? Were you at the opera this evening?
No,
No.
Theater?
No.
no.
This is a celebration.
Oh my goodness! A birthday?
Anniversary.
My sister and her husband, anniversary of their marriage. I was their leading bridesmaid.
I was his best man.
I was about to fucking be on the altar before somebody stopped me.
I stopped him. His zip went down. I kicked him up the ass. It would have been a scandal. The world press was on the doorstep.
Yeah, he was always so impetuous.
We get so many different kinds of people in here. People from all walks of life.
Do you really?
Oh yes. People from all walks of life. people from different countries. I've often said, you don't need to speak English to enjoy good food. I've often said that. Or even understand English. It's like sex, isn't it? You don't have to be English to enjoy sex. You don't have to speak English to enjoy sex. Lots of people enjoy sex without being English. I've known one or two Belgian people, for example, who love sex and they don't speak a word of English. And the same applies to Hungarians.
Yeah, I met a chap once who was from Venezuela who didn't fucking speak a lick of English.
Did he enjoy sex?
Sex?
Yes, it's funny you should mention that. I once met a man from Morocco, and he was very interested in sex.
What happened to him?
Well, now you've upset me. I think I'm going to cry.
Oh, you poor dear. Did he let you down?
He's dead. Oh, he died in another woman's arms. He was on the job. Can you see how tragic my life has been?
Well, I can, but I don't know about the others.
Oh, I can too.
So can I.
Have a happy night.
Do you mind if I make an interjection? Do you mind if I make an interjection?
Well, help yourself.
It's just that I heard all this talk earlier about the Hollywood studio system in the 1930s.
Oh,
Yes, and I thought you might like to know my grandfather knew a lot of the old Hollywood stars of those days. He used to knock about with Clark Gable and Elisha Cook Jr. He was one of the very few native-born Englishmen to have had it off with Hedy Lamarr.
No.
What was she like in the sack?
Said she was really tasty.
I bet she was.
Yes, you know, there was a well-established Irish mafia in Hollywood back in those days. And there was a close connection between the Irish movie stars and the Irish gangsters in Chicago. Al Capone and Victor Mature, for example, they were both Irish. And then there was John Dillinger, the celebrated gangster, and Gary Cooper, the celebrated movie star. They were both Jewish.
It makes you think, doesn't it?
it does make you think.
Hey, you see that girl over there? I know her. I fucked her when she was 18.
What? By the river?
Lambert.
Lambert! Is it you?
Cynthia, you remember?
Yes. How are you?
Fine.
Do you remember me?
Do I remember you? Do I remember you?
This is my husband, Russell.
Hello, Lambert.
What's up, Russell? It's my wife, Julie.
Hello, Julie.
Hello, Russell.
This is my brother, Matt.
Hello, Suki. Hello, Russell.
Hi.
Hello, Matt.
And, this is his wife, Prue. Her and Julie are sisters.
No.
Oh, yes, we're sisters and they're brothers.
No.
Hello, Prue.
Hello, Russell.
Hello, Prue.
Hello, Suki.
Hey, come on over. Come on, sit down. Sit down. Squeeze in. Squeeze in. You gotta get out the chair. Squeeze in. Oh. All right. What do you have?
A drop of red wine would do wonders.
All right. Go grab wine. Suki?
She'll have the same.
Don't you want to know if I'm still impressed with gardening?
That was a great save. Tell me, are you still obsessed with gardening?
I am still, moderately obsessed with gardening.
When I knew him, he was absolutely and just obsessed with gardening.
Yep,
He likes grass,
it's true. I like grass.
green grass.
You used to love flowers. Do you still love flowers?
Oh, yeah. He adores flowers. Just the other day, I saw him empty the piss pot into a bowl of lilies.
My dad was a gardener.
Not your granddad.
No, my dad.
That's right. He was always walking around town with a lawnmower.
Even on the old Kent Road?
He was a man of the soil.
How about your granddad?
Didn't have one.
Funny that when you knew my husband, he was obsessed with gardening. I always thought he was obsessed with girls' bums.
Really?
Oh, yes, he was always a keen wobbler.
What do you mean? And how do you know?
Oh, don't get excited. It's all in the past.
What is?
What do you feel about the past?
That's right. You feel the same as I do.
You mean that yesterday is today?
That's right. You feel the same as I do you?
Yes, I do.
Bullshit.
Well, I wouldn't like to live again, though. I mean, once is quite enough.
I'd like to live again. I'd like to come back. Make it my job to come back as a more civilized, nicer, more gentler person.
Impossible.
I wonder where those two met, Lambert and Suki.
Behind a filing cabinet.
What is a filing cabinet?
It's a thing you get behind.
No. Not me, man. I'm with my wife. I have no idea what a filing cabinet looks like. I mean, I wouldn't be able to recognize one if it came around the corner.
So, what's your job now, Suki?
I'm a school teacher. I teach infants.
What? Little boys and little girls?
What about you?
Oh, we do charities. My sister and I do charities.
Must be pretty demanding work.
Oh, it is. We're at it day and night, aren't we?
Well, there are so many worthy causes.
You're a banker, right?
That's right.
With a big future before him.
Well, that's what he reckons.
I got a question. Well, I thought you know he's a banker.
That's the way he holds himself, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And you two?
What, the two of
What do you
us?
do? Yes.
We're consultants, Madam. Strategy consultants.
Strategy consultants.
That's right, because we don't carry no guns. We don't have to.
We're peaceful strategy consultants.
Worldwide, baby. Keeping the peace.
Wonderful.
Yeah?
Really impressive. We need more like you about. We need more people like you. Taking responsibility, taking charge, enforcing the peace, enforcing peace. We need more like you. I'll have a word with my bank. I'm moving up any minute now to a more substantial bank. I'll have a word with them. I'll suggest lunch in the city. I know the ideal restaurant. All the women have big tits.
Aren't you pushing that big tits a bit too far?
I thought you were doing that.
But be careful, man. You're talking to your wife.
Have some respect, man.
That's all we ask.
It's not too much to ask.
But it's crucial.
Huh.
So, how is the strategic consultancy business these days?
Very good, old boy. Very good.
Very good. We're at the receiving end of some of the best tea in China.
To celebrate a treasured wedding anniversary.
That's the best of the best.
And may the best man win.
The woman always wins.
Always.
That's really good news.
The woman always wins.
To the happy couple. God bless. God bless
Cheers.
you all.
Cheers, cheers.
What a wonderful restaurant this is.
Cheers.
I'm so touched that you're sisters. I had a sister, but she married a foreigner, and I never saw her again.
Oh, well, some foreigners are all right.
Oh, I think foreigners are charming. I mean, most of the people in this restaurant tonight are foreigners. My sister's husband had a lot of charm, but he also had an enormous mustache. I had to kiss him at the wedding. I can't describe how awful it was. I've got such soft skin, so.
Do you mind if I interject?
Sorry.
Do you mind if I make an interjection?
What on earth do you mean?
Well, it's just, earlier I heard all this talk about the Austro-Hungarian Empire. And I thought you might like to know that my grandfather was a close friend of the Archduke himself. He once had a cup of tea with Benito Mussolini. They all played poker together, Winston Churchill included. My grandfather knew all of these people. He spent much of the war in the States. He became a close pal of Ernest Hemingway. They played gin rummy until the cows came home. But he was also boon compatriots with William Faulkner. Scott Fitzgerald, Upton Sinclair, and John Dos Passos, that whole vivid Chicago gang. Not to mention John Steinbeck, up Sinclair Lewis, and yes, that whole Deep South conglomerate. He knew these people where they were alone, where they were isolated, where they suffered against savage and pitiful odds, where they had great bodily harm done to their bellies, their legs, their trunks, their throats, their eyes, their breasts, their balls.
Well, Richard, what a great day.
I'm so glad.
This is for you. This is for you.
No, really.
This is for you. And, this is for you.
Really?
No. Let me, wait, hold on. You weren't suspended? No, really. All right, here. Stick this in your suspenders. And hey. This is for you, son. How about your wife? You know, this is a great dinner. This is a wonderful restaurant. Best in the country.
Best in the world,
Exactly.
I'd say.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry about that. There we go. I'm taking their bill.
No, you can't.
No. It's my wedding anniversary, right? Send me their bill.
And his, too.
Send me both bills. Anyway,
How sweet of him to take both bills. How
yeah.
sweet of you.
Right, sure. Well, this is, for old time's sake, right?
Yes, right, for old time's sake.
See you again soon.
Absolutely.
See you again soon.
Absolutely.
Next celebration.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Plenty of celebrations to come. Rest assured.
Plenty to celebrate. Like, who's in front? Who's in front?
Who's in front?
Who's in front? Get out of my way, you silly old cunt.
How sweet of him to take that bill.
He must have been very fond of you.
Well, I don't think that he was so fond of me. He was fond of, oh, you know.
What?
You know.
Fabulous evening.
Great.
I'll be here tomorrow morning for, actually I won't be here.
See you soon then.
See you again soon.
When I was a boy, my grandfather would take me to the edge of the cliffs and we'd look out into the sea. He bought me a telescope. I don't think they make telescopes anymore, but I would look through that telescope and sometimes I would see a boat. And the boat would grow larger through the telescopic lens. Sometimes there'd be people on the boat. Sometimes a man, sometimes a woman, sometimes two men. The sea glistened. My grandfather taught me the mystery of life, and I'm still in the middle of it. I don't know the door to get out. My grandfather got out of it. He got right out of it. He walked away, and he never looked back. I have one more interjection.
And blackout.